Those who love this podcast or enjoy this podcast, please get this news out. Share this with all of your friends. Link this, send it out, get this emergency broadcast out. Secondly, let's get the algorithm running. Click like, subscribe. Just share this with everybody. Love those around you. Share it.
Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are here. I'm calling this an emergency broadcast with our good friend Bo POLNY, who I'm going to show you some things in just a minute. But Bo put out an alert in his newsletter, New Year's Eve, December 31st. And he had quite a wild prediction for the start of the year. I'm going to show that to you in just a second. But we're recording this 4 days in. It's January 4th. And so far, he has hit it just about perfectly. So, but we're still in the midst of what he said was going to happen here in the next few weeks. So I thought we got to have Bo on and do an emergency broadcast. So Bo, welcome back to the show.
Noah, thank you so much. Appreciate being here, and almost Happy New Year to you and all your viewers. And you'll see why I'm saying that in a few minutes.
That's right. That's right. Well, and you're also calling this the midnight hour, so it all ties together.
Yes.
Well, Bo, let's just jump right in. We're going to focus a little bit more. I'll just let everybody know up front. We're going to focus a little bit more heavily today on the markets, the stock market, the crypto markets, gold and silver, the US dollar. It all ties together. And it all goes back to what Bo published in his newsletter on December 31st. So let me just set the stage real quick. I always like to do this in case these videos get shared around or re-uploaded or whatever. It is January 4th of 2024, at least according to the calendar. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. But Bitcoin is at 44,200 as we record this. And I always like to look back on that historically and see where we're at. But let me, Bo, let me just jump right into it. And I want to share my screen. I want to show everybody. I always try to be very careful not to share too much from your reports because you do have a bunch of paid subscribers that pay for those. And we want to be respectful to them and to you. But I'm going to share this right here. So we'll just take a moment. I'll read this to everybody. I've blacked out a few things that we don't want to give away too much. But this is what you posted, so it should look familiar to you on December 31st. And I was so blown away by the way this week has started. It's just nailed it perfectly. So you said, beginning the first trading day of 2024, which would be Tuesday, that was 2 days ago, January 2nd, expect the U.S. stock markets to crash and continue crashing for a period of time that I've blacked out, and then expect Bitcoin and the alternate coins to decouple. So basically go in the opposite direction, beginning on or about, again, a time that I have blacked out there. And then you've got basically the Fed panicking and printing trillions of dollars to try and reinflate the stock market. So the part, you can see the part at the beginning here, it was just perfect. I mean, the markets opened this week, and let me just share another screen here. Here's just one tweet that I picked up that seemed to be relevant. It says, "Are we starting 2024 with a stock market crash?" So it's so fun to read Bo's report in advance and then watch it all play out. And then even crypto. Let's see. Let me share this one here. Is everyone still alive after the crypto crash yesterday? And boy, that was a crazy crash. All of a sudden, things are 10% down yesterday in crypto world. And I'll share just one more screen here. And here is a chart that kind of explains what Bo was talking about, but just absolutely nailed it. So Bo, I just wanted to get that out there. I wanted to show everybody the reason I'm calling this an emergency broadcast and the reason things are so crazy right now. But
yeah, let's leave that screen up. Let me just run through that because those who have been following, the time patterns that I talk about, here's the thing, right? I don't want glory for this. I am trying to show the world what's coming from a biblical timing perspective. Okay. And so what you're seeing is, I've stated on your podcast and all podcasts, cycles, and even my reports state this one thing: cycles precede events. Okay. So you just showed Jim Cramer, whoever it was, talking about, hey, is the market going to crash, whatever. What you're seeing is the events now manifesting. And so people start to talk, just like when an article comes in, the markets crash and say, hey, the market's just crashed, right? But when you understand cycles, the cycle already it precedes it. So in other words, the cycle already says that the market's going to crash, but you don't have the event that crashes it. Like the beautiful example was in the year 2022. So 2022, in October, we're doing interviews, and in November, and my reports were writing that watch, because the cycle is saying that cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin cryptocurrencies are going to crash. Specifically, Bitcoin's going to break support at 19,000 and plunge on or about the 7th or 8th of November, which was the year 2022. And it happened. It freaked everybody out. That video, I think, has got 700,000 views, because I think that, the cycle based, it predicted what was going to happen months in advance, at least a month in advance, which I wrote about. And then what ended up happening, we find out that the event, because the cycle was already saying it was going to happen, we didn't know the event. And the event ended up being the FTX scandal. You see, so cycles are written, the end is written from the beginning, but we don't know the events. And so like what we're looking at right here with the stock market, okay? What I'm trying to show you is there's a 3.5-year cycle from when oil went to negative $38 a barrel. Then 38 days later, the Edenville Dam breaks. 40 days later, the George Floyd riots break out. Second seal of revelation manifests. And then 150 days later, Ginsburg dies. Okay, this is incredible, but all of these things are happening on specific dates. We run it, then the cycle continues for 1,260 days into 1,305 days. So specifically, the 3.5-year cycle, it ended on what I'm writing there. That 3.5-year cycle ended on December 26th. Period. Okay. Therefore, what did I say? On or about the 27th, we're going to see the U.S. stock markets begin to turn down. And lo and behold, on the 28th, there it is, the blue arrow, you'll see the U.S. markets began to plunge. They're still trying to prop up the Dow right now, but it's been heading downwards. Okay. But what I'm trying to illustrate and show you is the U.S. stock markets are finished in terms of the time cycle. So the time cycle for the U.S. stock market, specifically the Babylonian money system, it from the calculation is screaming that financial system ended as the month of December came to an end. Mm-hmm. I hope that makes sense. And then starting January, specifically, the 28th onwards, the U.S. markets are in a down cycle, and you're seeing the same. Today being the 4th, the Nasdaq's down again, and so everything's pulling back. And so it pulls. How a market drops, it pulls back, it pulls back, it pulls back, and then it plunges. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the U.S. stock market is in the month of January has got a horrific outlook. And so what I wrote was, don't be surprised on the first day, trading day, you can see the markets pull back. Well, not only that, it started on the 28th, it went into the 29th, and then on the first trading day, it dropped. And then yesterday it dropped again, and today it's pulling back again. So what I'm saying is the U.S. stock markets are in a horrible position right now. And then there's a chart that we're looking at. It's called the psychology of a market chart. If you can pull that one up. Mm-hmm. Look at that market chart. So just remember what we just showed you there on Twitter, what I post again for free. I'm not hiding this stuff. There's specific things that I, want to give to my subscribers because, they want extra information. But how many, we put out hundreds of slides for free to people. Okay. Why? Because I want the world to know what's coming. Look at that chart right there. Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you see? You see the market rally from October. It went straight vertical. It completed euphoria phase. It then completed a death run pattern. Basically, it's a horrific pattern. And now the month of January, we're supposed to see the markets plummet. Okay. But that's only January. Then there's February, March, April, May. Like 2024 is a down cycle for the stock markets. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be really ugly for the U.S. stock markets. And so what defines the U.S. financial system? Well, two things particularly, right? The U.S. dollar, specifically the U.S. dollar, and then they create money out of thin air using the U.S. dollars, and they pump it into the stock markets, and they inflate the stock markets. But basically, the financial system is the dollar and the stock markets. And, and ultimately the bonds react to that. And then when we look at the dollar cycle, look at the dollar cycle. I think that's on page 13 or something we had. Mm-hmm. The dollar cycle, same thing. We've shown you this pattern on our prior 10 broadcasts. I'm showing you the world for free. This is not something you have to pay for. I'm showing you and the viewers this for free. Why? Because God reveals things to me, so I want to reveal things to the world. Look at this. Tell me, we've been watching this unfold, Noah, for months now. Okay, we've talked about this specifically. The letter E for Edward was the final turn down for the US dollar. So we just talked about the stock markets are in a down cycle for 2024. Well, that's only the stock market. Now we're the US dollar's down too. So what defines the United States financially is all headed down in the year 2024. I'm going to repeat that. What defines the United States is the financial system, its strength and its power. The financial system of the United States is heading down in the year 2024. That in specifically the stock market and the dollar. Look at this pattern. It's 3 years unbroken. It literally from December of 2020, it rallied up. The dollar rallied up into October of 2022. It dropped 3 times last year into the red 1, 2, and 3 red points 1, 2, and 3. It rallied up into letter E like Edward in October. It's September, October, and then it turned down. And the US dollar, this is just the start. And then you got a horrific problem. If you can go back to full screen, you've got what's the horrific problem we got right now? The BRICS.
Well, I was just going to say, Bo, you've been warning us about those for a long time, and we just covered it a couple days ago. The BRICS just doubled in size overnight. They went from 5 to 10 members, and these are big countries.
Now, if someone was giving you money, or let's look at it this way. If you had a business arrangement with an individual, Noah, and anybody can think about this from their own perspective. If you have a business arrangement with an individual and you come to realize that he's defrauding you, you're like, you might call him out on it and he doesn't change. He or she doesn't change. You call him out again, doesn't change. And he keeps defrauding you. And the fraud keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point you're like, I'm done. I'm done. But the problem is the guy committing the fraud on you is a very powerful person, right? So what do? Well, the only way to take down a powerful person would be to join forces with many people.
Yeah, maybe something like this.
Maybe something like the BRICS.
There you go.
See, so what's happened is the world knows, the financial leaders of the world, they know this financial system's a scam. They know that Nixon took us off the gold standard, and they know that the United States has been printing money out of thin air to infinity. It literally is infinity now because we went from millions in the 70s when the event happened with Nixon. Then, Kissinger creates a petrodollar in 73. And then, the 50 years to the mark of when he created his beast, he dies, confirming the 50-year Leviticus cycle, okay? And so we're at a 50-year Jubilee cycle, which we're going to address in a second here. And so we've basically at a 50-year Jubilee moment in time. A Jubilee is a moment in time where God intervenes and he makes things happen, whether we like it or not. Okay. And so you've got the BRICS knowing that the financial system of the United States is a complete and utter fraud. They create money out of thin air. What have they done? They take pallets of money to different nations and leaders around the world, and they basically buy and pay off everybody. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay. That's what's been going on. The leaders of this world are at a point now, we've had enough. We've had enough. We've had enough. But the problem with we've had enough is you can't take on Goliath. You don't believe me? Look what happened to Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi. They challenge Goliath and they are no more.
That's right.
Okay. So the only way to challenge Goliath is you join forces. And that is what the BRICS have now done.
Well, it's an incredible list, Bo. I mean, these are not small countries. I mean, these are the top of the top: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's the 5 it started with. That's your BRICS, BRICS. Yep. And then just this week, they added the UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Iran. I mean, that is quite a conglomeration of 10 countries banding together.
Well, and what did you just say? You basically reference, I would say a majority of those nations you just referenced are non-Christian nations. In other words, they hate God.
Sure.
And Christ.
Right.
Okay. So is the rise of BRICS a great thing? Absolutely not. You see, God the Father, we were a nation founded under God all men are created equal. This was the greatest nation in the world to live. Everybody wanted to live in the United States because why? We're a Christian founded nation. And, talk about, we spread the gospel globally, not only the gospel, we fed the world. Okay, so this was the greatest nation. I say word was because it's past tense. This was the greatest nation in the world until what happened, right? It was captured. If you study Mystery Babylon and the whore, prostitute of Revelation, right? And so you have a beautiful country start dressing up, undressing, wearing makeup. It's just, and so the United States went from this beautiful thing to this whore of Babylon. And so it morphed into something terrible. And that's what happened. So now now it's fully controlled and captured. And the nations of the world are saying we've had enough. The nations have joined forces against the United States. Why? Well, because they've had enough of being defrauded. And secondly, they want to become the world's superpower, specifically China. Okay. And so what did China do? They came together with Russia, the United Emirates and the Saudis. So all of these nations are now banded together. And it's a very big problem for the United States because you can't stop this beast now. That's morphed into the BRICS have morphed into this massive beast now. And what do? Take on every nation of the globe? You can't do that. It's not possible. So we're at a moment in time here where Babylon the Great, I'm going to repeat this. This is scripture. Everything's Revelation 18. Babylon the Great has fallen. She has become a dwelling place for demons. And so we are now going to be attacked, not militarily. Well, there's going to be a war breakout here soon, but it's going to be short-lived. This is not World War III. Anytime the dollar is attacked, you're going to see a military conflict. So I do expect military conflict. Again, I'm not prophesying this. I'm just saying it's happened in history. So do expect a military conflict because the dollar is going to be attacked by who? The BRICS. When the BRICS attack the dollar, it'll be dethroned as the world reserve currency. It's going to be horrific for the United States for a season, for a little bit of time here, okay? And so this is nothing to fear. But again, see, God uses all people, all nations. So the United States is supposed to be the world's superpower. It's always been, okay? But now because the United States is turned into a whore, it's become a dwelling place for demons, the United States must now fall. Oh, that's horrific, Bo. No. The United States is controlled by evil, okay? She's a dwelling place for demons. And so God's going to use all things for his glory. So now he's going to let the BRICS nations take down his covenant nation. So the BRICS are now going to attack the US dollar. It will lose the status of the world reserve currency. The United States is about to be chastised. The United States is about to be chastised for what it's done. Turned against God. God's going to chastise the United States. It's going to be horrific and scary for a short window of time. But if you know God, he's a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. And then shortly thereafter, you will hear the sounds of great victory. And the U.S. will rise again. But what rises is a United States founded under God. Evil will flee the United States, never to return. The ones that came together as one to take down the United States are going to ultimately fall. So the BRICS plan is being used right now by God for his purpose to take down the United States. But when that falls, what you see come out is what? Truths. So, what was the big thing the world's been waiting for, especially here in the United States in the past couple of days? What have you been talking about on your website?
Yes, the list.
The list, okay? So what's the list? The list is the players who play in darkness. Get it? The list is the players who play in dark. Because those are the deals done in dark. They never want those names to come out because those names are the players in darkness who work for darkness. So we're coming into a moment of time here. And again, so I've stated before in your podcast that the year 2023 is a year of Jubilee.
Mhm.
And then
Yes.
2024 is going to be a year of rest. Why do I say that? Well, because from the Revelation 12 sign, there's certain calculations that I know are very crystal clear that I've seen and God's shown me. And so from the Revelation 12 sign, if you go to page 3, from the Revelation 12 sign and you count 6 years, because when you read Exodus, you're to plow your fields for how many years? 6 years. And you're supposed to let your field rest on the 7th year. Revelation 12 sign was in 2017. You add 6 years and it's 2023.
Mm.
And then 2024 begins the year of rest. What a year of rest is this? What it says, a year of rest.
Mm.
Because when God does something, he strikes. In that year, he will complete it. Like example would be the 6-day war. On the end of the 6th day, this happened at the end. I'll repeat that. At the end of the 6th day, Israel won by this one gunner tank that was just destroying them. And they thought it was this entire military conglomerate, but it was one tank. They surrendered at the end of the 6th day.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 7th day, they rested. They didn't need to do anything because the victory was won.
Mm.
So we're about to see God intervene. And then once God intervenes, the victory's won. And it's just, everything's going to be, the thing, oh, that's easy. Oh, that's easy. That easy button. It's like everything's easy after that. Once God intervenes, there is nothing stopping evil. And that would be considered what's called in the Bible, it's called an open heaven. See, an open door. When God opens a door, no man can shut it. So God's about to open the door to heaven. When Jesus Christ started his ministry, no one could stop him when he got baptized.
Mm-hmm.
After he got baptized. So what's about to happen is the glory is about to come on the earth and no one can stop. God's going to open a door upon this earth and no man will be able to close it. At the same time, too, God's going to close a door. And no matter what evil does, evil will never be able to open that door again.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is that? That's a defining moment for the fall of Babylon, Babylon the Great. She has fallen. She has become fallen is Babylon. She's become a dwelling place for demons. So the moment in time that God intervenes upon the world will mark the delineation of God opening his door upon the earth. And then everything becomes easy. On the other side of it, when you close that door, Babylon's finished. And no matter what they do, no matter how many battles they put up, no matter how many false flags, no matter whatever they do, it will never and will not work anymore because they cannot open the door that God shut.
Bo, I think, we saw a little bit of that, the way you described that, like the easy button or, everything just works. It really reminds me a lot of Trump, especially in 2015, 2016. They called him Teflon Don. It was just, everything he would say, the media would try and spin it, but it all just bounced off of him. And every time something would happen that they thought was going to bring him down, it just made him stronger. That's exactly the way I'm kind of hearing you say it is, just when you think something, this should really fail or take somebody down, it's just going to make us stronger.
Yes. That's why he is such, like, just a perfect example. The Epstein list comes out, right? Like, they just can't win. Like, it literally stated in there that he was never at the island, never had any associate. Like, no matter what they do, it just nothing sticks to him. It's the greatest thing to watch. It really is. It's an enjoyment to watch.
It is.
Because when God anoints somebody, man, no matter what evil does, nothing sticks.
Yeah, that's right. And it's, it's not that Trump is perfect, far from it, but
look what David did, how many wives he had. You got to understand, there wasn't one king in Israel that was without sin.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, there's 44 kings, and not one was without sin. Jesus Christ actually said when he wanted to stone the woman, for cheating on her husband, he goes, he who has not sinned, throw the first stone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
So do not look for perfection. Do not look for perfection in Trump. Don't look for perfection in anything I say. All I'm saying is that we all try to do our best. We all try to do our parts. But ultimately, those that work for the kingdom, It's like, when you make a latte, the best always floats to the top, right? And that's what's happening. No matter what they do with Trump, nothing sticks. He keeps floating to the top. You can't stop what God has ordained. See, God wrote a plan thousands of years ago. We're watching it unfold right in front of us. How awesome is this?
Mhm.
Now, the reason I have this slide up is because I kept hearing the words midnight hour.
Right.
So December 31 hit. I'm like, something's going to go down. There's a high probability. I'm like, and then it's like January 1st hits. And I literally kept hearing the words midnight hour, midnight hour. But on January 1, I heard something very special. I heard the word Julian. I'm like, oh. And I go, so I knew that, so what I want the world to understand is, you see, we live in a world of deception, right? They change everything, just like what happened they change others in the year 321, I think, which emperor changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, Constantine, okay, in the year 321. They mess with the times and the seasons, okay, to try to confuse and cause chaos and more so confusion. And so what they did was they moved the Sabbath, which is Saturday, they move it to Sunday, right? Now, because they're sun gods, they were sun worship. And so the entire religious system that we watch in this world is religion's man-made. Jesus is not a religion. Jesus is a king. I'm going to repeat, Jesus is not a religion. Jesus Christ is a king. He sits at the right hand of God, and his kingdom shall never fall. His kingdom is forever. Jesus even said, "I'm to Caesar." In the time of Rome, he goes, my kingdom is not of this world." This is the things that he said. And so what's coming is God's kingdom. We're going to watch the fall of Babylon when God opens his door and shuts evil's door. We're going to watch the birth of God's kingdom. What kingdom is that? Well, that's Daniel 2, verse 34. While you were watching, a stone carved out by no human hand. It means that God intervenes on our world. And why is it such an important time? Because a midnight hour, scripturally, it's a completion point. There's no time left at midnight hour. It's a turning point. It's a new beginning. It's an end of an era. It's cleansing of an old. We need that, okay? We need to cleanse the old, okay?
Yes,
it's a darkness before the dawn. It's when night turns to day. It's a time point for vengeance. I like that one because I always say Isaiah 61, the year of the Lord's favor, which was 2023, and the day of vengeance, which nobody knows. But normally the day of vengeance would be at the very end, which we always know Jesus Christ shows up in the fire for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Jesus Christ shows up, or the angel shows up in when Daniel is thrown in the lion's den, right? So God shows up at the very last minute, last second, when there's no way out. God shows up, right? And so we're at a very interesting time point. This is the time point when darkness meets the light. So we just talked about the Epstein stuff, right? We're literally seeing the players being exposed right now. Why? Because these were all the players in darkness, and the dark players are now meeting the light. I'm going to repeat that. The players in the dark are beginning to meet the light. And this point, when God opens the door, those will be the fall, the death of the United States, i.e., in other words, mystery Babylon. Even though the United States is no longer Babylon, it's a global syndicate, but the financial system is now global, started with the United States, become global. So this is a worldwide syndicate now that's going to be stopped. And so there's an important time point coming. I don't know if it's going to happen on this time point, but I do want you to know, when you study what they did with the time windows of time, when you study what the Julian calendar versus the Gregorian calendar, so the true calendar, probably the more accurate calendar would be the Julian calendar, was replaced in 1582 by Pope Gregory VIII. And that calendar runs right now 14 days behind the present day Gregorian calendar. So that would make what we consider New Year's Day, January 1, that won't be until January 14th Gregorian. So we're still 10 days away from New Year's.
Interesting.
So how this all plays out, I don't know, but I do know a factual statement that they messed with our calendar. And so I know what I heard, and I know the year 2023 is the year of Jubilee, back to what I've been stating, and the year 2024 is a year of easy, a year of rest, that everything they do, they can't stop anymore because everything's blowing up in their face. I've shown you the calculation for Melania and Trump. Okay, it's from their wedding day, it's 7,000 days to the exact day, this March 2024, March 23rd, I believe it is, of 2024. Okay, so all I know is that we're about to see the greatest victory in human history. It's going to be so awesome. It's going to blow people's minds how incredible 2024 is going to be. At the same side of it, it's a double-edged sword. It's going to be the most horrific year the world has ever seen for those who planted evil seeds against God's church. So 2024, God told me this very clearly before I went on stage at Reawaken in December. He says, year 2024 is going to be your year of blessings, a year of revival, a year of awakening, a year of vindications, and a year of open heavens. So he says, bravo to you for standing the test of time. We were tested for 4 years. At the same time, God gave evil 4 years to turn from their wicked ways. And now there's going to be people doing horrific things to themselves, I believe, because when the truth comes out of what they did, you know, I read on Twitter and you know, there's people posting all kinds of stuff, like people resigning, people, you know, that mass event, you know, bad things going to happen to people coming up. I don't know the details of all of this, but I'm just telling you, when the truth comes out, when light meets darkness and the truth truly comes out of what evil's done in darkness, and they cannot close that door. See, that's the whole essence, right? Like the Epstein stuff can come up right now. They're going to try to close that door and distract. Okay. But when God intervenes, you can't close that door. When God intervenes, you cannot close that door. And it's going to lead to the greatest revival in human history, the greatest awakening in human history. And I find it fascinating that the US dollar cycle points to, you know, just nothing but down pattern the entire year. The stock market's down in the entire year. Basically, the US financial system built on a fraud. So the US financial system, I'm going to repeat this, the US financial system is built on a fraud because they create it out of thin air, is in a down cycle. So Babylon's financial system's in a down cycle for 2024. It's going to be horrible. Okay. On the other side of it, those who prepared, who did have financial means, gold and silver, cryptocurrencies, are going to have an incredibly blessed year. Because why? Bravo. The first one to be was blessings. Blessings are 30, 60, 100-fold. Watch and see. It's coming. And then month after February is March. You got March 23rd, 7,000 days to the exact day is Purim. So when light meets darkness, the light exposes everything done in the dark. And then when you go to the next slide, you have to understand, you know, the importance of Purim and Melania, or Purim and Esther, because after the truth was exposed, you had Haman. It's called, I titled this the Haman effect. And so all those who plotted against God's people, his anointed, vindications, what the Haman effect is, you know, what Haman plotted for Mordecai and all the Jews, he built gallows, which he himself and his entire family or children hung on. So this is called a flipping of the scales. God will not be mocked. This is going to be the greatest year the world's ever seen, and the worst year the world has ever seen. And I believe all of this starts right somewhere on or about, you know, the middle of the month. It's going to get really interesting.
Our guest today for this emergency broadcast is Bo Polnny, and we're breaking it all down. Bo, you've kind of hinted on it a little bit. You just said precious metals, gold and silver, going to have a tremendous year. I believe that myself. You know, I'm not a financial advisor, neither are you, but I'm buying some. I've been buying some, and I still am. Well, what about crypto?
Let me ask you a question. Why do you buy precious metals? Why do you buy cryptocurrencies? Because you obviously believe what I have stated. Okay, I'm not a financial expert. I don't give financial advice, but I know from what I've seen in the math, I'm a numbers guy. I've seen the math, and all I know is you can't create something out of thin air, go from millions in the 70s to billions, trillions, and quadrillions, from counting from 12 days to a million to 31 million years for a quadrillion, and think that that's not a fraud. So because I believe, personally, I believe the financial system is a fraud, so therefore I personally own precious metals, and I personally have purchased cryptocurrencies because I believe both of those asset classes are opposite the fraud.
Exactly. Yeah, I pulled up on the screen. This is what you were just talking about. That red on that chart, those are US dollars. And
yep. And that's only to the year 2020.
Sure. Oh, right.
Oh, you don't even understand that you couldn't even draw the top of that, how high the thing has gone since 2020, since the market. They created 7 trillion over a weekend. We're in the quadrillions. This is insanity, the numbers that they're using. And why do you think the BRICS have had enough? Because they've had enough of the fraud.
Yeah.
So God's going to use the BRICS, even though this is not a good thing, because the BRICS are going to take down the world superpower, which is basically God's anointed nation, right? So the BRICS are going to take down the United States, which is horrific in a way, but all in God's plan. He's using all things for his glory. And so the BRICS are going to come against the United States. They will lose the status of the world reserve currency. People are going to freak out what this is going to do to the United States economy. And on the other side of the coin, God's using this to manifest, because the Kim Clement prophecy, we can finish with this and then we can finish with cryptocurrencies. But the Kim Clement prophecy was very clear. The brothers of Goliath, the BRICS nations, stand in glee. We just saw Putin high-fiving the United Emirates states. He was just high-fiving them. That's called standing in glee. So they're all smiling and happy. So the brothers of Goliath stand in glee. And the last line was, "We will cripple you." And the "you" was be the United States. We will ruin your credit, destroy your credit. So we're about to see the financial system plunge. It's going to happen in the first quarter of this year, sooner rather than later, okay? And that will bring the nation of the United States to its knees. And that was a prophecy. And then the prophecy finishes on this. And then you will hear the sounds of great victory, because it was in the fire that Christ showed up for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It was at the Red Sea when there was no way out. God showed up and parted it. It was in the lion's den when the angel showed up. God will show up at the last minute, and he uses all things for his glory. So we're seeing all things of the world manifest perfectly by godly design. And then at the last minute, as the United States falls, we will rise again. Evil will flee, and we will be the greatest nation during end times, because we are we're in seals now. This is, and in the closing, the event that's about to go down, where is in the Bible? It's the third seal of Revelation. The greatest financial event, or the greatest financial collapse, in human history. So this is all going to play out this year, 2024, continue into 2025. It's going to be horrific and historic. It depends on what side of the fence you're sitting on. And that's, that leads us into cryptocurrencies and gold and silver.
Before we get onto those, Bo, and before I take this off the screen, I just, it's such a powerful image that you have there with that red chart. And I don't know if people fully understand the importance of this, but, we all feel like our dollars, they just don't go as far as they used to, right? I mean, it's like, I just can't make them, stretch to everything I need to between car payments and house payments and groceries at the store. And then, I mean, forget about a vacation or other stuff. But the reason that is exactly because of this chart. And like you said, this chart only goes to the year 2020, and that takes us to 23 billion. I believe we just crossed over 34 trillion, 23 trillion. We just crossed over 34 trillion in the last 4 years. Crazy. But
that's only what we know about. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, that's only what we know about and what they actually own up to. But it's no wonder when they can just print more money like this, that makes your money worth less when they can just print more of it. So if it feels like your dollar isn't going as far as it used to, it's because it's literally not. Now, in I know, cryptocurrency is new to a lot of people, and people don't understand what makes it so great. One of the things that makes it so great, which you were just talking about, is instead of having a chart that looks like this, cryptocurrency would be a flat line straight across, or even maybe going down a little bit. Because so take Bitcoin, for instance, and Bo, I know you know this, of course, and a lot of people watching may know this, but some people don't. There can only ever be 21 million Bitcoin created. 21 million Bitcoin. They by the computer code that made Bitcoin, there will never be any more than that. And along the way, Bitcoins get lost, or they get, whatever else, people forget their passwords and stuff. So that number is actually going down.
Let me pause you. That's a great point you said. So the red arrow, the red explosion and the printing of money, they do this behind closed doors in darkness. You don't really know. We don't know. No one knows the numbers. These are only, they reveal to you numbers. We know they're all a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers are magnitudes greater of what they even reveal to us. But the point of what you said was, but if you looked at Bitcoin, the line wouldn't be like that, right?
Right.
With the red one, it'd be, if anything, straight, slightly heading down.
Exactly.
Because there's stories all over the internet where people, had 10, 50, 100 Bitcoin and they forgot their private keys, and now they can't access their coins anymore, so they're lost forever.
Right.
So you're right. So the Bitcoin count will never ever go up. It's only going to go sideways to slightly down. So it's a great point you made.
Yeah, and I just think, Bitcoin's so new, crypto's so new. Sometimes people just don't understand, well, what's so great? It's just digital money, right? I got digital money. I got a credit card, or I got my bank accounts online.
But let me pause you. But you're making, these are great conversations, because now here's the problem. When God intervenes on the world, he closes the door. This is like great visuals, because if God closes the door on Babylon and opens his door to open heaven, right? When God closes the door, that means the banking institutions fail, which means that your digital money fails, which means credit cards and the Fed wire system fails. And now, whatever state you're in, Noah, I'm in California. I cannot wire you or send or buy something from you via credit card because the banks have gone down. And so we're going to sit and go, how do we transact? And thus the people will wake up to the birth of digital currency.
Yep, that's right. All right. Well, such a interesting topic, and it's just something that I hope people understand. That's why we get so excited when we talk about this. It's not just because, we put some money on the internet. No, it works differently. It has limits, and Bitcoin is just one. I mean, I always talk about XRP. I'm an XRP fanboy here, but XRP is the same way. It has a 100 billion limit.
Yes, and I don't know the details of all that. All I know is that for those that are like, oh, I love this coin. This one is the home run. This is going to change my life forever. From a biblical scripture, you need to diversify at least 7 ways. Okay, so you want to always be diversified, because why? Because this way you're minimizing your risk. And so to buy only just one, to have everything in Bitcoin, that's great. But there's other coins. You see what I'm saying? To have everything in XRP, that's good. But there's other coins, right? So all I'm saying is that, from what I try to educate the world on is, don't get caught up on there's one magic answer, because there aren't. Always, it's just from how I look at things, you always want to diversify in a few different things, because that's biblical. That's in the Bible. You should be minimum spread seven ways.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Some of those 7, and not necessarily all endorsements, but I've got it up on the screen here. Your Bitcoin index. We always talk about your newsletter, and if people are interested in that, they can go to gold2020forecast.com. You cover the coins on the screen here. You cover some other ones that aren't even up on the screen. So if people are interested, and if they want, when we started off this interview, I gave that little snippet from your newsletter, and I blacked out some of the dates. If you want that more nuanced detail, the turning points, the dates, when both things are going to go up or down, including some crazy, I don't want to give too much away, but crypto is about to get really wild.
Well, you know what? Also, this is actually entertaining, because I've listened to people on the internet, and there's people out there for the past year since, every single newsletter that I've written so far since November 5th, middle of November 2022, when on the FTX issue, every single newsletter for the past year or 2 years, whatever it's been, I've basically been writing, that was the bottom. Okay. And there's people all over the internet still to this very day claiming, oh, Bitcoin's going to have a massive crash. It's going to go to zero. Like all these crazy things that are being said about Bitcoin. And I'm just looking at my charts going, I don't get where people come up with this stuff, but they don't understand cycles. And that's all I can say, so the cycles have been very clear. We've watched things manifest beautifully. You've had my newsletter for years now, and all my subscribers, the last word you want to ever, any subscriber that I personally know would ever use is the word fear, or I'm afraid, or, what's going to happen next, because the cycle already is written. So we know what's coming. That's the crazy part. We know what's coming. Noah, you and I have watched everything unfold for months and years already in advance. And there's like literally zero fear, because why? The cycle's written. We know what's coming. We even have time points into the future. And so that, evil, Satan, is the creator of fear. So anyone out there preaching fear, or, that this thing's, that be careful because this thing could go to zero, they don't understand what they're talking about. And those are lies from the pits of hell. I'm just telling you, people don't understand. If they're saying that cryptocurrencies are evil, you don't get it. You just don't get it. You don't understand that you're going to need cryptocurrencies to transact, because you might want to buy something from Noah, and the banking system's down, and you're going to be able to click a button on your phone and Noah gets paid in a second, or whoever else it is. You might want to buy a car from another state. You click a button, the car is paid for, right? And so people people that are spreading fear out there do not understand cryptocurrencies. They do not understand precious metals, and by spreading fear, that is the father of lies. That's Satan, because there's nothing to fear. Especially this year, this is going to be the greatest year in human history. And anybody screaming fear out there, they do not, those are not of the Father.
Well, by the way, if you want to get Bo's slides here, I will put a link below this video. Make sure you grab those. I know they're a little hard to read when they're up on the screen like this. So go ahead and grab the slides. This whole slide presentation is, as always, available for free. If you want that more detailed information in Bo's newsletter, you can go to gold2024cast.com and you can find the sign up link over there. And then make sure that you type in, when you get to the sign up page, it's going to ask you if you have a code to use. And Bo's giving everybody that's listening to this right now 50% off if you want to get into that newsletter. And like Bo just said, one of my favorite things is telling people, hey, the first thing you do when you get in there is go back through some of the old archives and the historic newsletters and just take a look. Start with the newest one and see how that did for last week. You're going to be blown away. And then go back a little farther and check out November of 22. And it's all in there. Bo doesn't ever delete them. They're all in there because he's proud of what he's put out, and he's got the cycles nailed down. So have fun with that if you want. And then I'll put this slide here too. I always get a lot of questions about this from people who, maybe you didn't know what we were talking about today, or maybe you'd never heard about it before, with only 21 million Bitcoin ever existing, and then that number actually going down over time. That's called a deflationary currency. Very important. It's the exact reverse or inverse of the US dollar. So if you didn't know some of that stuff, or if you don't know how to even buy Bitcoin, or how to do it safely, or how to not get scammed, or how to not make a mistake, then you need the Easy Crypto School. So you go to easycryptoschool.com, and same thing there. You can sign up and then use that same code WLT49. Bo's going to give everybody listening 50% off of that. Now, those codes, depending on when you listen to this video, those codes are only good for a short window of time, and then they do expire. So get in there and use that if you want. And really appreciate Bo offering that to everybody listening to this. That's always a nice extra bonus that you get. Yeah, you get to listen to a great presentation, and then you get free stuff too. So that's cool. So, well, Bo, let me take that off the screen and go back to you full time here. So we've already had a wild first 3 days of the year, and it's only going to get crazier, and good crazy, bad crazy, depending on where you're at. But let me just give it to you to wrap up here.
I'll just finish on this. We can't stop what's coming. You can only prepare for it. Like the 10 virgins, right? You can either be on the right side of the fence or the wrong side of the fence. You can be prepared or not prepared. So when no one's stopping what's coming, we are stepping into the third seal, the greatest financial event in human history, which is what? The fall of Babylon. God intervenes upon the world. He makes a way for his bride. The evil ones are going to flee, freak out. They're going to be throwing up. They're going to have the worst day of their life, the worst year of their life, and it starts Now, I believe it starts in January. So this year is going to be historic. I believe January is going to be historic. I believe we just about to end the 7 years that was prophesied, the 7 years of you have been besieged, America, besieged by haters of America. And then God's going to make a way for his bride. So we're stepping into glory times. This is going to be a historically awesome year, and one of the greatest year and the worst year. I feel sad for the people that that have just worked for evil and have literally refused to turn from their wicked ways and continue to work for a fallen angel. They're working for a defeated foe. God's never lost, and these people have been deceived, and they have chosen to work for a loser.
That's right.
So,
that's right. Probably no better way to sum that up. I love that, Bo. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing this emergency broadcast. We're going to get this posted right away. And I hope everyone is able to be prepared. And we're going to see what the next few weeks bring us, Bo. But I'm very excited.
Thanks, Noah. God bless you and your viewers. Oh,
Thanks.
also, last thing too is those who love this podcast or enjoy this podcast, please get this news out. Share this with all of your friends. Link this, send it out, get this emergency broadcast out. Secondly, let's get the algorithm running. Click like, subscribe. Just share this with everybody. Love those around you. Share it.
I love that. Thank you, Bo. Yes, please get it out. I would echo that. Please go ahead and share it in any way you can. We love getting the news out and reaching and warning as many people as possible. So thank you, Bo.
Amen.